Hey everyone, I'm Eric Thomas of Eric Thomas Studios. For today's how-to, I'll be going into a few ways to work with the colors in your Photoshop projects. First, let's go over some of the ways you can work with your colors. If you already have your colors in the project and just want to enhance them a bit, we have what are known as adjustment layers. These are layers that let you give a bit more style to images. Things like changing the brightness and contrast of the image, giving some color grading to everything, and changing how vibrant the colors all look, to name just a few of the many effects in this list. Now alternatively, if you don't have colors already in there, you can add your own colors to an image using brushes, the paint bucket, and what are known as blending modes. In either case, having selections might help you out a bit here. They'll let you keep the colors where you want them, unless you're doing color grading for the whole thing, but let's assume for the sake of the tutorial that you want to work with some of the colors individually. There are a few ways to make your selections for this. These range from the really simple marquee and lasso tools, which let you select large blocks of content, to the more complex but way more precise pen tool, which I've actually done a whole tutorial on. With whichever tool you're using for this, there's a good thing to keep in mind. The phrase "time is money" is overused, but it's also true. That in mind, when making your selections, a good tip is to always select the smallest amount possible. Sometimes that'll mean selecting the part you want, and other times it'll mean selecting the rest of the image and inverting your selection. Inverting our selection, which is Command-Shift-I on a Mac and Control-Shift-I on a PC, will make it so whatever you selected will be deselected while everything else becomes the active selection. It might seem like a minor thing, but even seconds spent on small tasks like making selections can really add up if you do enough of it in a single project. But once we have our selection, what do we do from there? Well, firstly, we can add the adjustment layers. To do that, head down to the bottom of the Layers panel and click on the half white circle icon. From here, we have a whole list of layers we can add. When we click on any of these, the adjustment layer will be added. Assuming we had a selection already, that selection will be added as a mask to the new layer, keeping it only in the areas you had selected. For reference, looking down at that mask, you can see what's being hidden and what's not. Black areas in the box are areas that are being masked out, so they won't show up. Anything in black is going to be untouched by the adjustment layer's effect. If you want something better to work with though, you can also type the # key on your keyboard. With a mask selected, this will make a color overlay over the entire canvas. In this overlay, anything that's red is going to be hidden. You can then use the brush and paint bucket tools in here to color in the areas, using black to hide more, white to reveal areas, and using the X key to switch between the two colors. When you hit the # again, the overlay goes away and you can see the results. Now for the actual adjustments, some will be more useful for your colors than others. First and foremost, we have the hue saturation. Hue saturation adjustment layers give you complete control over the colors in a design. You can change how much of a color is in a scene or part, the actual color that thing is, and the amount of white or black in those colors. By default, this will apply to all colors in an image, but you can also use the settings for each individual color channel in an image using the drop-down menu at the top. Similar to this, we have the channel mixer adjustment. This gives you control over the color channels in an image too. So, say you have an RGB image, you'll have red, green, and blue channels to work with in this layer. Specifically for this layer though, you can control how much red, blue, green, white, and black is present in each of those channels. This lets us quickly and easily adjust the white balance as well as do some quick color grading. If you're looking for something even simpler and faster than all the hue saturation adjustments, this might be the way to go. If instead you're looking for just a small bit of color variation and not looking to actually change the colors, we also have the brightness contrast layers. These are much simpler than the last two. you can control how much white or black is in the image with the brightness setting. And you can control how much range there is between white and black with contrast, letting you make brights brighter and darks darker. Also, I've done a whole other video on using gradient maps for color, which I'll have a card to here. And leading to the other way you can do your color adjustments, we can also add solid color or gradient layers. But how we use these will be a bit different. For the other way to make color adjustments, we use what's known as blending. With any layer, you have two settings to change how they work with anything lower in the layer stack. At the top left of your layers panel, there's a drop-down menu with the word normal. Clicking on this and picking a different word will change the blending mode or how the colors of a layer works with others. Some good go-tos to test this with are overlay, color, and soft light, though depending on the image, the others can be just as useful for what you're going for. For an example, say you made a solid color layer with the color you want a part to be. By default, it'll be completely opaque, not showing any of the detail underneath. If we change the blending mode from normal to color though, the image will be there, but colorized by the color set in the layer. But it might be a bit much. If you want the color change to be a bit more subtle, so it blends better with the original image, you can change the 100% to the right of the blending mode dropdown. This is your opacity, and the lower it goes, the more invisible and blended into the layers beneath it gets. This is something that can be done with any layer, so I always recommend experimenting until you get the look you're going for. And while I've been showing adjustment layers, keep in mind that this can be done in other ways too. Some of those ways would include the paint bucket tool, or hand brushing colors, shading, and effects with the brush tools. To really get this down, I recommend going out and finding some black and white photos. Then try to make them look like colored photos. You can always practice with images that are colored to start, but starting with black and white, at least for me, helps you really think about the colors in an image. With a blank slate like a grayscale image, you have total control over all the colors, so it's phenomenal for experimenting. And that was a few ways to work with colors in your designs. I hope you all learned something and had fun doing it. If you have any feedback, you can let me know with a comment below or with a message to @ET_studios on Twitter. You can also like this video and share it around. I'd appreciate the help getting the word out. And I'm planning to be back here every Friday, so be sure to subscribe for more awesome content. Have a great day, everyone.